Okay, so here we are, Michelle, my partner in
Hey,
crime, Michele
Liz.
Dempsey.
I love being your partner in crime.
So, we are going to do a couple of origin podcasts
Okay.
where I interview you and you interview me.
Sounds great.
And hopefully, for those that don't know us personally, they will get a sense of who we are and why we chose to do this podcast.
Yeah, that's important. They know
Yes.
why we're doing this. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm going to start with a little bit of an intro, just to start us off. So you hold a Master's of Architecture from the University of Pennsylvania
Correct.
and a Bachelor of Arts in Engineering from Lafayette College.
Yes, but let me be clear. I'm the worst engineer that ever walked the halls of Lafayette College. That is my banner. Yes.
I don't know. I reading that, I'm like engineer and architect. I'm feeling, very impressed right now.
All right. Well, thank you.
You have extensive experience in architecture planning, interior design, and graphic
Mhm.
design. And you are a LEED accredited professional committed to sustainable architecture. In 2003, you founded your own architecture firm, DX Dempsey.
Mhm.
And since that time, you have been recognized as one of the top 25 women in business. Your firm has been awarded for green practices. You've received the Small Business of the Year award, among many others, including some prestigious awards from the American Institute of Architects.
Yes.
You are active in your community, which is Scranton, Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
And interestingly enough, when you moved back to the area was right around the time that the show The Office came on air.
That's right.
And you were one of the organizers of the very first Office convention.
That's right. The office convention and the office wrap party was towards the end of the run of The Office, but yes, that's right. Yeah. That's a story in and of itself. Really,
Yes,
for
and I
fans
had
of The Office, that's a different podcast,
and I hopefully we'll talk a little bit about that at
Yeah.
some point, but a very cool thing where you turned what could have been a situation where your hometown was getting mocked, in a very public
Yeah.
stage to one where you embraced all the quirkiness of Scranton and showcased it to the world.
Yeah, and I didn't do that. Greg Daniels from The Office did, the creator of The Office, and I was so grateful for that because I was worried it would be what you just said, like mocking Scranton because it was very different than the UK version of The Office, right? Where they were
Yes.
not very kind to Slough, but it turned out to be different, and we are ever so grateful. And I love the Greg Daniels to
Yeah.
you, chef's kiss, right?
And, on top of that, you're a single mom to 2 amazing sons, and hopefully we'll get a little bit into, how that came about. And you're an avid traveler, an outdoor enthusiast, and, you also have, which I did not know this until the second, a second-degree black belt in Tang Soo Dong. No,
Good.
what is it?
Say it
Tang
again.
Soo Do?
Yeah, very close. Tung Sudo,
Tang Soo Do. I
which and
totally butchered that.
yeah, no, it's fine, Tung Sudo, and then my particular karate changed to Subukdo, but it doesn't matter. Like it was a very, it was a very important part of my upbringing in life. And anybody who has young women out there, like put them in karate. It is one of the things I am most proud of that I did. That it meant the most to me during my life. That I learned to. I loved it. I hated it, and then it gave me such a leadership potential and possibilities. Like it's it's amazing. And so getting my black belt is definitely one of those moments in life, like one of those moments where you did something
Mhm.
that that was meaningful because I had to work so hard for it.
Yeah.
And then and even for the second degree, but like to me that was and my teacher Master Marion Walsh has since passed away, and Mr. Taglatera, who's also passed away. Like life is a village, and, like, there was my family who meant everything to me, but that was my karate family,
Yeah.
right? And growing up, my karate family meant a lot to me and gave me so much confidence and security in who I was and my ability to lead people and my ability to protect myself and to feel strong as an
Mhm.
individual. So uh, that's all I can say is, like, that's why I put my kids in karate. My son Daniil became a black belt as well. It's like, I just think it's one of those great things, you know? And,
It's very
I
cool.
didn't know you didn't know that, but yeah, that's something about me that I'm proud of, you know?
Yeah, I
But
would be too. I
yeah.
think it's very
It was a
cool.
long time ago, but right.
Still counts.
Yeah, exactly.
And so while that is sort of the formal bio, I just wanted to add one thing that our listeners would not know. And that is if you ever have the chance to come to your office in Scranton, Pennsylvania, the DX Dempsey office, when you walk into the office, there is a giant wall that has your mission, your vision, and the values
Mhm.
that you espouse. And I think that they are so reflective of who you are
Mm.
that I would just like to share them,
Oh, sure.
if you don't mind.
No,
So I,
it's
I
yeah.
took a picture on my phone, which is why I'm looking at my phone a little bit.
It's really funny.
Your vision is to define purpose through design.
Mhm,
Your mission is to inspire people to love what they do and where they do it.
mhm.
And on your values, be kind, be unstoppable, be involved, don't assume, be a team, be bold, and don't be an effing stiff.
Yeah, exactly.
And if that
There's
doesn't encapsulate you and, your ethos, I don't know what does, because
Oh,
I feel like that really captures
that's
everything.
so cool. I didn't know you took a picture of that. That's awesome.
Okay,
Yeah.
so intro is done.
Yes.
Let's dive into some
Let's do
questions.
it. Yeah, I love it.
So so you went to college, you became an engineer,
Yeah,
in your, words, the worst engineer in the world,
ever.
and then you decided that you'd go Ivy League and get your master's in
Yeah.
architecture. What led you to architecture?
Whew. Yeah, sometimes I think you know, when I was younger, it's like all these little things lead up to something, right? Like when I was younger, like we're almost at Christmas here, right? Like the time that we're recording this, um and I used to love driving around with my dad to look at the lights on houses, right? But I was looking at the lights, but I was looking at the houses, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I just from as long far back as I can remember, when I was in a space, I was taking notice of the space, like the way it made me feel, the little nooks and crannies of it, and what, like I just always had a kind of awareness of the space I was in and how it was influencing me, right? But I
Mhm.
didn't know that, and I didn't know what that meant. And the other thing, I knew that I was creative, right? That I love to write, I love to draw. I, you know, that I really had a creative part of me that especially was alive in grade school. There were all these like competitions, and I would enter all these poster contests, and I'd typically win them just because it was a creative thing. It was like, do you have the
Mhm.
most creative messaging and a nice drawing and whatever. And then I got to college and I got to high school and it was a little bit more, I was at a prep school. So it was a little bit more like, you know, you're writing and doing your core exercises and, your biology and things that would get you into to college. And it wasn't as like, I sometimes wonder if I went to a public school instead of a prep school, would I have been able to play with other areas of
Yeah.
because I just feel like I see my sons are in public school now and all the things that are available there that weren't necessarily available to me in a prep school, which is very great for getting into a college, but not
Right, it's preparing you for
for
college, right?
that's
It's a singular path.
very singular path, right? But I see things, I see these cool clubs and these cool activities and these cool, like that. I'm like, oh, I think I would have been interested in a lot of those things. And I
Yeah.
might have like gotten into that. And would that have been different? But, life takes you on the path it does. So I really in high school did not know what I was going to do when I went to college. And when I was looking at colleges, it was like I was the third child in a family of six. So by the time I got to the third daughter, my parents were like, whatever. Like, like you got a 3 hour radius. Like they gave me some parameters and like they
Yeah.
were just like, do whatever because we're a little bit tired now. And so here's how I picked my college, Liz. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Like it's so deep. It's so deep. So I had a 3 hour radius around Scranton because my dad wanted he's like, he wanted his kids to be able to come home, like, if they needed to, and whatever, those were his parameters. I probably coulda gone outside of that, but I didn't see a reason to. I don't know, that sounded good to me. Um, I knew I couldn't get into an Ivy League. So there was a book called The Fisk Guide to Colleges. I think it still exists,
Yeah.
right? And it was pretty thick, and I looked through the Fisk Guide, and I'm like, "I don't think I can do an Ivy League," which was 5 stars. 5 stars was, like, the highest. Like,
Mhm.
academics were rated by stars. 5 stars were Ivy Leagues. I'm like, "But I think I could do 4. I think I could do a nice 4-star college. It might be a reach, but let's do that. Let's go for 4 stars." And then they rated, money was dollar signs and social life was telephones, right? Because that's how far back we're going. So I basically, within that territory, within the 3-hour radius, I narrowed it down to everything that was 4 stars and 5 telephones.
And I feel like that says a lot about you personally, right?
And then once I did that, my last sort of like, here's how I'm gonna pick my college. The last piece of the puzzle was the male to female ratio. Okay, so so Lafayette College was 4 stars, 5 telephones, 60-40 male to female. I'm like, that feels good.
I feel like that was a very thoughtful approach. I wish I had spent, like, that much time thinking about,
This is
where I
this
should go.
this is how much I thought about it. And so, and then applied to a few other places, but I love the write-up. Just the tone of the write-up was like, you could tell whoever wrote this write-up for Lafayette loved it, right?
Mhm.
And so I went to visit the college, and I loved it, and eventually ended up getting in, and it was the perfect choice for me. I, to this day, heart Lafayette College in the biggest way. I met my some of my best friends in the world there. Like, we have a thread going on. It's like called "Give 'Em Hell Lafayette," And but the way I picked my major was, and this goes to all like anybody with kids out there, like, just don't forget how freaking lost you were in college. Like, just
Mm.
or in high school. Like, you don't know yet what you want to do. You can feel so lost in the world, right? And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had no idea going into college what I wanted to do with my life or what I wanted to major in. So my dad, we looked at all the colleges I had picked and what their majors were, and we kind of came up with this agreement. My dad's like, "Well, Lafayette has I said, "Dad, I can't go to Lehigh." My dad went to Lehigh. I'm like, "Dad, I can't go to Lehigh and be an engineer. I can't. It's not
Mhm.
me." He's like, "Well, Lafayette has a Bachelor of Arts in Engineering, and if you don't know what you want to do, it will set you up for anything you want to do because you'll get the humanities and you'll get the technical side of it." And that sounded good. So that's what I did because my dad said that sounded good, and I thought, "Oh, sounds good, I guess." I don't know why I did that, Liz. Why did I go along with that? Like, I should just done economics or business or whatever, right? Like,
Mhm.
so I can't tell you how humbling it was to try to be an engineer at Lafayette
I
College,
bet.
right? Like, it's not like my math was that strong. I don't even know how they let me in under these, it's like, and I'll never forget, this is a great story. Like, I had to take calculus, and Professor Hill, God bless him, he's the nicest guy. And I took my first test and I got like a 74, and the note attached to it was like, "I know you can do better than this." And I'm like, "Oh god, he doesn't know that's the best I could do." He
He has
just
no
he
idea.
just has been getting everything I had, right? And then like, fail, fail, another like 74, and he's like, "Great improvement,"
I know.
like, he's like
You peaked early, and then
it's
you went down, and then you came back
just
down.
like that all the way through. So it was like I lived this dichotomous life at Lafayette where everybody in engineering was like, "How did you get into this school?" And like, "Why are you here?" And then everybody in the humanities was like, "Wow, like you're smart." Like,
Yeah.
So cut to when I got into, so how did I find architecture? My freshman year, second semester, I took a course called History of Architecture with Bob Madison at Lafayette College. And whoa, did that course speak to me. Like, really got me somewhere deep in my soul where I realized, like, buildings had a language. I
Mhm.
understood the language. I could speak it. I just knew it. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I think this is where my creativity can shine. So I'm like, well, how do I test this? There was no architecture at
Right.
Lafayette. So um, I started taking courses over at Lehigh. Don't tell anybody. My dad's like, "You got a degree from Lehigh." I'm like, "Shut up, dad." But it's not untrue in terms of the architecture. So I took courses over at Lehigh, and I ended up taking pretty much their full architecture program.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and that was just going back and forth, traveling back and forth. And this is just, like, sort of the beginning of, like, me realizing, like, you can design your life. Like, you can and I had really thank God for the people along the way because my advisor at the time was just like, "Well, let's make this work." I was
Yeah.
like, I think I like architecture." He's like, "Okay, what do we gotta do? All
Yeah.
right, we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll make these courses count towards your engineering degree," and, like, da 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 da. And, um, and that's kinda how it started. So I took courses over there. I took them during the year, I took them over the summer. By the time I graduated, I had pretty much their full architecture program under my belt, and I was able to put together a portfolio, and that's how I got into Penn.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Very cool. And then at some point, so you were working as an architect in Philadelphia,
Mhm,
and then at some point you decided to move to northeastern Pennsylvania,
mhm,
back to Scranton.
mhm.
So what brought you back here?
Yeah, so I finished at Penn, which I loved it, had a great experience there. Ended up in Philadelphia working for Bull& Whiskey Jackson, which actually started in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania,
Oh
that firm.
yeah.
It's a world-renowned firm. Peter Bolin has won the Architectural Gold Medal. His firm has won AIA Firm of the Year. Like, these are very prestigious awards. And he started in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, and now there are 5 or maybe 6 at this point offices across the country. And they've designed Bill Gates's house, they designed, Pixar headquarters for Steve Jobs and all the Apple stores, like, I mean, this
Right.
don't underestimate, like, small towns, right?
Right.
And what you can do if you
Hmm.
have the talent and the ability, right? So, I just really wanted to work for BCJ, and Peter had come and spoken at Penn, and, like, his design philosophy and mine were very aligned, and so, I started at BCJ, worked there for several years, and then, a relationship took me down to Washington, DC, where I worked for Buyer Blender Bell, which is another amazing firm that was a New York firm that was just starting a Philadelphia office, and I worked with Hanny Hassan, who's like, these mentors throughout our lives who are so important.
Hmm.
Like, Hanny was just like, I love Hanny to this day. He was one of the best bosses I've ever had and mentors I've ever had, and I hated leaving, but I had designed a house for my parents, and I needed to see it through construction. I knew I couldn't be 4 hours away, and it
Yeah.
was a labor of love, and they really were counting on me, like, they had waited for me to finish architecture school, and they were like, "Are
Yeah.
you doing this or what?" So
Yeah.
I came home to see the house through construction, and what happened when I was back home, which I did not expect, I thought I'd go back and work with Hanny again, maybe go to New York and work
Hmm.
for Buyer Burrell there or something, but I fell back in love with my hometown.
Hmm.
I fell back in love with being near my family. I felt I was having a great time. There was a wonderful local music scene. There was a young mayor who was making changes. And I was like, I like being on the edge of change. I like being places where I can affect it. Somebody once called me a wild blackberry. You like being on the edge. It's an edge. A wild blackberry it's an edge species. It lives like in really harsh environments and it can survive and thrive there. And I think that does explain me a little bit. Like, I like being places where I can make an impact, right? And Scranton was a place that needed a lot of love and help. And when I was very young, I did a TEDx talk about this. Like, when I was in my teens, I worked for the family business, um, and it's a uniform and linen supply, but they have a fleet of trucks. And I worked with Tim McNichols, who worked on the fleet of trucks. He was our mechanic, and, he and I worked together for several summers, and I just loved him. He was like one of these wise people that you find in these very
Hmm.
unexpected situations, and he said to me once, he's like, "What are you gonna do when you finish college?" I'm like, I don't know. I think I wanna work for Greenpeace or something," and he's like, "Look, you have Save the World syndrome, and it's great. It's great. Like, don't worry. It's good to wanna save the world." He's like, "But, it's also really cool to wanna fix your corner of it."
Right.
And so that's what I did. That's kinda what I committed my life to, was fixing my corner of the world. When I came home, I'm like, "I really love being home. I love what I just did for my parents. I think I could start a firm here. I think I can." make a difference in this community. And so it was a big decision, but I started DX Dempsey and the rest is history. So that was 22 years ago.
What do you think, you know, since COVID and the
Yeah.
ability to work remotely, there's been sort of a renaissance of young and creative, smart people choosing to move and live in small
Yeah.
towns versus, or big urban environments. When you look at Scranton and Wilkes-Barre and all of northeastern Pennsylvania, what do you think the future looks like for this area?
Yeah. Well, I think it's really exciting. I mean, you know, the people who moved home during COVID and what's happened since with cost of living. Just let's just
Mhm.
get to the brass tacks. The cost of living has become like crazy. I think what people make versus what it costs to live is like very lopsided right now. Like
Mhm.
it's hard to get even into the home buying market
Right.
at this point. The rents right now, I was looking at rents for one of my sons, and when I moved back here, I had a like 2-bedroom apartment with a porch and the whole thing, like $700 a month. And like it's $1,500 a month now. I'm like, "What, are you
Wow.
kidding me?" Like, who can have like, a kid it's
Can't
not like
afford
the
that.
rent has, like, kept up with that, or not
Right.
like, sorry, the, salaries
The
have kept up with
salaries,
that, you
right.
know? So, I think there's an attraction, and it's 10 times worse in the big cities, so I think there's an attraction to cost of living. And I think people are realizing, like, you can come to these mid-sized cities and you have to work a little harder at it, right? You have to it's not like things are falling in your lap, all this stuff to do, but you can find the stuff to do, or you can even better create it.
Exactly.
You can create it, and that's the thing I find the most exciting, because that's something, like, I learned in college when I really wanted to play flag football. I ran into this. I wanted to play flag football because I had seen it when I was looking at colleges. I saw it in Notre Dame. They had a powder puff league. That's what it was called. I'm like, that looks really fun. I'd like to play that. So I came to Lafayette and they didn't have one. And I'm like, hey, I went to the head of intramurals. I'm like, do you have a powder puff league? I want to play
Yeah.
flag football. And he's like, he's this old guy. He's this old African American guy who just looked at me like, you don't even know what you're talking about, right? And I'm like, he was really cool though. And I'm like, what's up? He's like, I can't get women to participate in any intramurals here. He's like, they have
Wow.
no interest at all. And I'm like, I don't think that's true. He's like, I'll make you a deal. He's like, you get the teams together and I will buy all the equipment you need. He's like, you want to play flag football? You go get the teams. You go find the women who want to play it, and I'm at your beck and call. I will whatever you need. I'm at your service. I'm like, sounds like a plan. Sounds like a deal. And that's what I did. I went and found there were so many women who wanted to play. Like we had a league in like 2 seconds, right?
I feel like that was, like, one
Right?
of the,
Right?
early signs of your both organization and leadership skills right there, like
It was like, seriously, Liz, it was the turning point. It's like it was the moment where I realized if you have an idea and you just act on it, you can do it,
Mhm.
right? Because that led to, by the time I graduated, 75% of the women on campus being involved in intramurals. Like, they hired a woman to run the intramurals program? So it
Wow.
wasn't that women didn't wanna do it? So I think that's, like, bringing it back to Scranton, like, that's kind of, like, where I realized, like, you have to create things if you want them, right? And you can. Like, you
Mhm.
just it's more ideas come and go, ideas die. Ideas are just ideas. They don't have they're great, but they like, unless you act on them and unless somebody's willing to do something, it's just an idea. And so that was the flag football taught me early that if you have a great idea, it's it's your responsibility to do something about it, you know?
Well, I think that that also played through into your personal life where you had a vision that you wanted to create a family.
Mhm.
And, you're a single woman and you figured out a way to create a family.
Yeah.
Um, Talk us through that process.
Yeah, well, so I did start an architecture firm, and the reason I'm bringing it back to that is because what I learned I started when I was, like, 30, right? Maybe was there about 30. And, like, you have all this, like, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur. This is gonna be great. It's so much fun. Like da da da. And what you learn real fast is how hard it is,
Yeah.
right? And in a world like architecture, it's deadline driven. It's design driven. Like there's a lot of stress, and
Mhm.
and once you start hiring people, it gets more stress. I'm like, oh, I'll hire people that'll take this. It just gets more stressful. So I had my firm like growing pretty quickly, and it was very consuming as a because I didn't have any partners, and that's like something we could get into a whole conversation about that at some time. Like,
Mhm.
how should you like? What are things I would do differently? But this is how it sort of played out. As I started a firm, and I was the sole, you know, um, owner, and it, and even though along the way I thought like at different times I had considered bringing on partners and tried to like it's different. So it was a lot. My field, I love architecture with all my heart and soul. Running a firm is different, and it's very stressful,
Yeah.
and it requires. It's why so many women drop off, right? If you go to architecture schools, it's 50-50. By the time you get to practice, it's dropped off quite a bit, and the number of women who start firms drops off dramatically,
Yeah, I
right?
would think that I mean, there are very few women-owned architecture firms.
Without it's particularly without partners,
Mhm.
right? Like, it's I could see why women would have partners knowing what I know now, right?
Mhm.
But having none and doing it on your own, very difficult. So, it made the idea of family seem very difficult too. But I was married. I married a Brit. His name was John Cunningham. We're still very good friends to this day. And it was he was we met down in DC. We didn't even meet in Scranton. We met when I went down to watch my friend run the Marine Corps Marathon. The night before, we put her to bed, and a group of us went out, and we met down there, and that's a whole story too. It was great. But, we dated across an ocean, and he ended up moving here, and, we had, like, a beautiful relationship, but like a lot of relationships over time, it's sort of death by a thousand paper cuts, There was
Mhm.
nobody did anything dramatic or traumatic to each other, right? It was
Mhm.
just like ultimately at the end of the day, we wanted each other to be happy.
Right.
And one of the things I was starting to want was kids, which to be 100% fair, when we got married, I really wasn't sure. And we said that. We're like, we'll keep the door open, but he was pretty sure he didn't want them. I really wasn't sure if I wanted them. And then at some point I was like, I think I do, even though
Mhm.
it's going to be really hard with this firm and the whole thing. So we ended up splitting, and like, amicably. Like, I'm not saying that in a, like, a Pollyanna way, like, it was truly amicable, right?
Yeah.
And that's why we're still really good friends today and, like,
Mhm.
just true friends. Like, he lives over in England and I live here. We visit sometimes. It's nice,
Mhm.
I still think he's super funny and we still get along really well. But we just wanted each other to be really happy, and and he's a Brit through and through. He was such a fish out of water over here, with his football and his,
Yeah.
pubs
Mhm.
and, all his RAF buddies, because he's in the Royal Air Force. But, and around that same time as we split, I was really feeling like I wanted to have kids, and we tried a little bit together. It didn't work out, but I had always wanted to adopt. I really like, it was something from my mom was adopted, her brother was adopted. It was, like, to me, a beautiful thing.
Mhm.
And I'd gotten an email from my sister at one point just talking about this host program where you could adopt kids who were a little bit older from, internationally, and, like, I don't know how to explain it, Liz. Like, some things in your life, like, you just it's a feeling more than a
Sure.
really logical, progressive thought process,
Mhm.
right? And, like, just when things feel right, I'm like, "That feels right for me." I don't know why, it just does. I would I have the capacity to love kids that I did not birth, and I also have the capacity to love kids as if they were my own, who are even a little older, kids who would have no other opportunities in life. Um, so what they do in this host program is they send you, like pictures. It's like, if you've ever seen that movie Instant Family, it's just like that. You're on the internet looking at pictures of all these adorable kids, and how the hell do you even pick,
Wow.
But there was this picture of this little kid with this little cleft, this little chin that just, like, for some reason, he just stood out to me, and one of my sisters who I was, like, leaning on for support at the time, she's like, "Oh my god." like, this kid." And I'm like, "I know." And he had a little video. A lot of them didn't have videos. He did. And like the second he spoke, my heart melted. And I'm like, "This is my kid." It's just like so I don't mean to be one of those people. I'm so sorry for anybody out there going like, "Yeah, right." But like there are moments in life where you just know
You
things.
just know.
You just do. And I'm
I
sorry,
agree.
like, you just do. And, like, for whatever reason, I just, like I connected to him, and I just knew, right, that he was I just knew he was my kid, and, like, there are a lot of other kids. And here's how I especially knew. Couple things happened at the same time. Somebody approached me and said, "There's a baby, like, that you could adopt. Like, like, you have an opportunity for, like, a baby." And I was already on this path, and I'm like, I've found I found my kid. This
Yeah,
thank you, but, like,
I found my
I
son.
found my son already, you know? And, and then, uh, it was like they at one point, they came back to me and they said, "We're really we apologize, but we know we wanted to host this child because he was up for adoption, and there was, like, a possibility, he would if things worked out during the hosting that you could adopt him." That wasn't true for all the kids. Um But we did find and you said you said you wanted a single child, and we found out he has a brother. And so, already teed up, here are other kids that we have confirmed, and we apologize that we have confirmed do not have siblings if you'd rather consider them. And I didn't even take a beat. I'm like, "No. I'm sorry, this is my son. Can you just give me information on
Yeah,
his brother?" Right? And
yeah.
I never thought I could handle 2 kids, right? I really was looking for one for a reason, but, like, when they finally sent me the picture of the 2 brothers, I am not this person. I am saying this and, like, people out there like, "Well, whatever." Like, people who are like me, who are hearing this, who are like, before something like this happens, you're like, that's just bullshit," right? Like, I'm sorry, that doesn't really
It's an
happen to
eye
people.
roll moment, like,
Yeah, like,
whatever,
yeah, I roll, like, back in the head, right, whatever. I was bawling, crying when I got the
Yeah,
picture of these 2 kids because I was like, it just I just knew. I don't know what that feeling is. I don't know why. I am very scientific. I am very, like, I love I love the universe. I love science. I love the universe. I love evolution. I love, like, all these things, but at at the same time, there are these moments that I feel are real, and that was one of them where I'm like, "These are my kids," and, I ended up adopting 2.
that's one. Where did you adopt them from?
Kyrgyzstan, and if you don't
Wow.
know where that's from, Borat is from Kazakhstan, right? So that movie Borat, so, it's a former Soviet country that is now like a very shaky, independent country.
So when they came over, how old were they?
So my younger one was 9 and my older one was 13. And
Okay.
that's like there are studies that say that's right on the cusp, right? So if you're around 10, 11, or 11, 12, is where culturally, if you're younger than that, you start to feel part of the place that the
That your new adopted home.
yes. And older than that, you always feel a little bit connected to the place that you came from. So my younger one, Daniil, his name is, he instantly, like, he almost within 6 months, he fully forgot the language,
Wow.
like, and just kind of adapted to being an American, right?
Yeah,
And took on his new family and everything of that sort. And my older one came over from day 1. Even when I hosted him, I realized we were gonna have things we had to deal with, right?
yeah,
So basically, I think it's called transference. I took on everything his mom did that would cause issues, or lead to bad things. If I did them, it was almost as if I was her, right?
sure.
So he would just have these tremendous meltdowns. I don't know what else to call them. If I took a sip of alcohol, which
Mhm.
I don't have any alcohol issues, I promise. But like, if the first time that's how I realized it. Like when I
Yeah,
was hosting him, I took a sip of alcohol and he like melted down. If I was texting with someone, he couldn't read the text. If I was talking to an adult in a room and he couldn't hear it, just things like that. Very simple things.
interesting.
Yeah. If we changed plans. at last minute.
Yeah, it wasn't he wasn't good with that.
No, just there were like 9 things he could just not deal with, and
Mhm.
me with a man, forget it. So that took a lot of therapy and a lot of time to kinda get through, and I thought when he was, like, sort of over having those meltdowns, I thought, "Okay, we got through it." And then he hit high school and puberty and then, sort of junior year of high school, freshman year, he was at a different high school, and then COVID hit.
Mhm.
We switched back to the public school because the privates couldn't kinda handle the IEP, the individualized education, program, and, so we went back to the public school, and I don't know, it's just, like, I feel like the friends that he started to make and the things that happened, it just all sort of felt like it started to spiral down d
A bad path.
a bad path, like, people he chose to hang out with, the things he chose to do, the behavior got riskier, and unlike kids, and I kinda wanna put this out there because 'cause we're talking about, like, things that we go through, like, at
Mhm.
this age and with kids and kinda sandwiched in between kids and careers and aging parents, like, for anybody out there who's dealing with a child who's going through these issues of, like, first it was behavioral, and then it was sort of, dabbling in weed, and then it kinda got to addiction, sort of full blown. Mostly still marijuana, which, by the way, at this point is, like, way beyond what we think of as a doobie or
Right.
it can be very intense and cause psychosis. Um, but it was more like it was that coupled with the behavioral stuff and the people he was hanging out with and the weird situations that were happening. And when you try to handle a child going through everything that he is going through, like, with your typical, like, what you read, "Oh, here's what you need to do to handle a child who's misbehaving." It doesn't work. It's almost like everything the books say are the opposite, right? It's like opposite world. It's like bizarre
Yeah.
world, like, turn it all around because the lines in the sand are different, like, "Okay, well, if you're gonna do these things, I'm gonna take away your phone, and I'm gonna, ground you and do all these
Right,
things."
all the normal things
All the
that you would
normal
think
things that you
that you
think you
would
would do,
do.
it's like those were just motivation to do worse things. "Okay, if you're gonna take away my phone, I'm gonna steal a phone."
Yeah.
You're gonna ground me, I'm gonna sneak out. Like, and you think you can't let those that would never happen on my watch, but, like, it does, and it's kinda crazy the way it does happen because, um and that just leads to, like, I'm a very I'm up late, I'm switched on, like, when somebody's very determined to do these things, they'll find a way to do it, and,
Right.
like, it's not like a child who's more who doesn't have who doesn't have that kind of wiring, who when you say, "These things will happen if you do those things," they know where the line is, and they stop there.
Right.
Right? Like, they don't wanna get the card taken away, they don't wanna not have their phone, and they are not willing to steal,
Exactly.
like, to
Yeah.
get to the next but, like, when you have a child who is, it just changes the game altogether?
Right.
So, without going down a very long path, which I'm willing to talk to at some time, about at some
We
point,
should have an episode
an
just on
episode about
yeah.
this, my child had to go into treatment, and that was like a year-long journey before he, checked himself out because he was an adult, and that was a whole 'nother story, but long story short, very short, compressing it, right now, he is living at home, like, I feel very blessed. It was a long journey in finding people along the way who could help me. And
Mhm.
we're not completely out of it, Liz, I don't wanna pretend we are,
Right.
but he's doing better now, and he's living at home again, and I don't feel, the concern about the stealing or this or that, but he's not like, we're still on the "Where is this going, and is it gonna get better?" path, right?
Sure.
Um, but I feel more hopeful than I ever have. So
Mhm.
I'm skipping over a lot of stuff in between,
Yeah.
which I think would be very like, useful information to people, and we will have an episode about that at some point.
I think it's important, though, for people to know that you can be incredibly successful,
Yeah.
very bright, very loving, and it doesn't mean that, you're not gonna face
Uh,
challenges.
yeah.
And that you can't, even though you have every means possible and the support system and everything, you can't protect your kids from all the, the evils that are out there,
Yeah.
and they can go down a path that is a very challenging path,
Yeah.
life path.
When I am because I believe in, like, sharing this, right?
Hmm.
I think it's important, and every time I do, I promise you, and for anybody out there going through it, I promise you, when you share it, you 90% of the time, somebody's like, "I have a child, a cousin, a niece, a nephew,
Yeah.
somebody going a brother, a sister, a parent
Hmm.
going through the exact same thing,"
Yeah.
right? It's amazing how much this is hidden in plain sight.
I have two really close friends, and they have kids that have faced the same issues.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, in all three instances, uh, all the kids have overdosed,
Mm,
and two have passed away, and one did not.
yeah. It's a
And it's such a scary thing
so
because, to
scary.
your point, the drugs of, 20 years ago are not the
Mm,
drugs that you're faced with today.
no.
And oftentimes, and I have very little knowledge, but oftentimes I think it's a little bit like a Russian roulette
Mm,
game where you just don't know, is this the one that's laced with fentanyl that's gonna,
yep,
kill me?
yep.
Um, and it's such a scary world today for kids.
It makes me lose my breath sometimes, like, how scary it can be, and the thing is and what parents and anybody out there going through this need to know is, like, because you it's so hard because the outside world does not understand. If you're not going through this, you don't understand it,
Sure.
and you don't understand like, in my case, I understand my child was adopted at an older age, but if I had had him myself from birth,
Right. It could
this
still
still could have
happen.
happened because
Absolutely.
there's always an underlying reason for this. There's a reason that kids use or try to find these escapes,
Hmm.
and it's usually some kind of trauma that happened in their youth, and it doesn't mean that the parents caused it or the family caused it. It can
Right.
be that, but it could be something that happened outside of school, like it happened in school or in
Right.
some other place that you have no control over it, right? Or it's just something inert. It's something that we're born with, like, but
Hmm.
there's always an underlying reason for the use, right? That if you don't get to that, you're not going to get through it, right? And I'm not pretending to know everything. There are people out there who I have turned to who know so much more than me. And I am so, so grateful to I finally found a podcast by a woman named Brenda Zane. It's called Hope Stream. It was referred to me by a woman, who I met when I went to, my son was in treatment at a residential program, and one of the other mothers I met gave me the name of this, podcast, and through that, I met a woman who also had adopted, she was like a parent coach and, had adopted kids and had a son who went through something similar, but she'd had him from birth,
Hmm.
like, and told me about a therapist in Boston who has been just so instrumental in, and we wanna interview her at some point because,
Right.
again, this is a full different episode, but we're talking about the challenges that we're going through at this phase of
Hmm.
life and with raising kids, and this is one that I think is not talked about enough. And I feel the light of judgment that comes from the outside, but I also understand it's because people don't get it.
Right.
They just don't know, and I'm also empathetic to that because
Right.
I probably would have been that person before I was in
Hmm.
it, right?
Sure.
And met these other mothers and fathers and people who are in it who are just the most incredible parents that you could ever meet in your life, like doing everything they can to help their kids,
Hmm.
but in a lot of ways, it's also in their kids' hands, right?
Hmm.
So there are resources like Gabor Mate and just I could go on, and we'll put stuff in the links to this episode, but it's just really I've over the last since adopted my son, I feel like I almost have a psychology degree, but it's really understanding like what's underneath and the things that like people go through that lead to the behaviors and the addictions. So I've been dealing with that with my one son, and thankfully, I feel like I'm hopeful that he's coming through it, although it's a very long process, and, like, to people from the outside, it probably still looks like, "Really? That's coming through it?" Right? But yeah,
Yeah.
like, a year ago, like, he left treatment,
Right.
and was living with somebody I didn't know, and I didn't know
Mhm.
where he was or what was happening, and now he's living at home,
Right.
and he has
He's
a
got more
job,
stability.
and he's like, it's like
Mhm.
little things. It's not is it the ideal job? No.
Mhm.
Is he still, like, get mad at in a heartbeat and, like, get upset and angry and, like yes, but does he love me? For sure.
Right.
Like, do I know he still has that good heart? Yeah, and, like, I'm just so grateful for where we are today, and we'll revisit that another time. Meanwhile, his brother has adapted beautifully to
Right.
being in this country, and, like, I think it's an age thing, right? And also, like, what they both went through and the
Right.
different experiences they both had.
Right.
And so, he's doing great in school, and he's like, we have a beautiful relationship, and it's just different, and I could speak for hours on both of that, and I'd be happy to at some point, but so the parenting part of my journey and who I am as a person is huge,
Yeah.
and it's been but Liz, it's been in the background to people from the outside of my business,
Right.
right?
They
And
know you as
the
this
architect and
entrepreneur, architect,
the
community leader.
community leader, right? Like
Right. And you're dealing with, some of the heaviest challenges that
mhm,
any parent, I mean, honestly, I think every parent out there today sees that one misstep, one bad decision can change your child's life forever.
yeah, but at the same time, I see parents getting upset over things like a grade or my kid didn't make this team or whatever, and I just
Right.
wanna be like, "Come on."
Right.
Your
Right.
child is healthy and happy, like,
Happy
they're
and
happy and they're athletic, they're trying, they're motivated,
mhm.
they're doing this, like, that's not the game
Right.
right there, Like,
Right.
you don't
You're
know
building a great human,
you
and they don't
know
have to be,
Yeah, like, relax a little bit, like, just
mhm.
take your pump the brakes a little bit, like, it's
Right.
okay, if they're not I feel like a lot of parents feel the pressure from society to, like, be on all these travel teams and have the best kid at this, and they have to be number 1 at that, and they have to do it's like, they have to have these grades, and they have to get into school, and it's like, "No, be happy you have a healthy child who
Yeah.
is, like, trying and who's doing their best, and they want to succeed, and they have motivation." Like, don't put unnecessary pressure on them because you wanna look good,
Right.
to other people, Like, just be so. Because if you have a kid that's gone through what my child has gone through or these other parents that I've seen go through, like, you you have a new appreciation for just a
Sure.
healthy child, right? Like, you
I
just
so
do,
appreciate that.
you
I
know?
so appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I definitely think we wanna have just a full-on episode talking about, these issues because, as you said, a lot of families are dealing with
Yeah.
it, and we don't know.
We don't know. We don't know.
But let's move
Yeah,
on
please.
to, we're sort of, rounding down to the end of the interview. What do you think your future looks like? What do you think the next chapter? Because part of what the Spark Me podcast is about is how we as women end up having these various chapters of our lives.
Yeah.
And as you get to a certain age,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, suddenly, you've achieved what you wanted to in your career. Your kids are growing up and starting their own lives and now you're left with what's next. So, Michelle, what is next for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I have been identified in my own mind for a long time. Like, my business has been me, and it's been another child, right? And it's been a huge part of my life, and it still is, and it still will be, even in the next chapter, right? But what I realized was the amount, the things that you start to identify what's working, what's not working, right? And then I was like, look, what I want for this next chapter is to enjoy it. I
Mhm.
am like, that is what I'm committed to. I'm committed to doing whatever it takes to enjoy this next chapter of life. And I love architecture and I still love my business. And I love my kids, and that needs to be my priority as well. And I love travel and I love this podcast that we just started. Like, I've always been motivated at the same time as my work. The other thing that feeds my work is things outside of it,
Mhm.
So whether it was, you know, the office convention that we talked about before, which was just like a really fun time of my life and a way to bring great attention to Scranton. And again, that could be a whole nother episode, right? But
Mhm.
just like saying like, why don't we get the whole cast and crew to come here and all the writers and whatever and have a big party and like make Scranton be known for this because it's this popular show. Like that to me, the whole point of getting the office associated with Scranton was to help Scranton,
Sure.
right? And I think it did that because at the end of at the end of the office convention, the Philadelphia Inquirer wrote an article that said Scranton from cold to cool,
Yeah.
right? And so that was one. And then it was like, oh my God, there's this incredible, like, terrible landfill expansion that's happening in my community, and I feel like if we don't stop that, it could compromise everything that we're working for, right? So I was one of the people who founded Friends of Lackawanna, which is trying to stop the expansion of this landfill that is one of the largest in the country. It is in the um middle of a thriving residential community, and it's just not the right spot for it. And we've for 30 years taken garbage. We have done our fair share for society, and it's just time to stop, or it's
Right.
just gonna get worse and worse. So fighting that has been another thing that has motivated me. Again, it's about giving back to my community, right?
Mhm.
And about seeing the future of our community. And so now I'm here and the thing about my business that has always been stressful is doing it alone, right? So one of the things I'm thinking about for the next chapter is, do I need to do it alone?
Right.
Right? Or is there a different approach to this? So watch this space, right? Right,
Something to talk about.
right. Watch this space for developments in
Mhm.
that sense, because I love the impact that architecture has on every level of community and society and living, right? So I never ever want to give that up, and so next chapter is like, but I think it would be more fun to do it differently, right? And then, um and then the other thing is, I don't think it was, again, roll your eyes, everybody, all you people out there who are like, "Whatever," but I don't think it was and I'm not over religious, and I'm not over all those things, but I do believe in, like, a kind of universal order, and when you approached me and said, would you like to do a I've been thinking about a podcast, and I just thought you might wanna do it. Like, Liz, what made you say that to me?
I don't know.
Right? Like,
Yeah, well,
'cause it was
I do know, actually. I do know. I'll talk about it in my,
yeah,
I'll talk about that.
because for
Yes.
me, that was like, "Oh my god, this is something that has
That
been
you'd been thinking about.
totally thinking
Yeah, you had,
about." Like,
like,
it was
fleshed it
brewing in the background.
out. Yes.
I was already there. It was very similar to what you were thinking. It was
Mhm.
like, only better. I was like, "This is it. This is like what marries all the ideas with everything else." And I got so excited and I'm like, "Ah, this is the thing that I feel like everything else has been leading up to outside." Like, there's the business part and you have your work part, and that's always gonna be but like in the other sphere of my life, the community and the greater good and the that part of it that's like outside of work, this is what I feel like everything's been leading up to,
Yeah,
because I feel like the impact that we can have here on a bigger level, like touching society, not just locally, but globally, like, and
absolutely.
helping women because women are amazing. And I think when we really realize our power and what we are capable of, and really start to unite and galvanize our forces and find each other and create this community together where we create these meaningful connections and we build on our power and our strength and our talents together, and we build this community together, and we talk about, like, really talk about the things that we are going through in life. And I'm trying to be as open and authentic and honest as I can because I feel like that's what moves us forward,
Absolutely.
and I will say more in future episodes because there's so much ground to cover here, but, about work and about personal life, about raising kids, about family, all of it, right? We're just touching the tip of the iceberg in this interview, right? Like, but I really feel like this is the most important endeavor that has culminated in my life, and I'm, like, so grateful that you tapped me for this because I just don't think it was an accident that
Wow.
we were both ready, like, that you had this idea, and I was like, as soon as you said it, I'm like, I have been I have been ready for somebody to ask me about this, and I have been thinking about this for so long because of the impact that I believe podcasts can have, that I believe building a community can have, that I believe bringing women together can have, and it's not like it doesn't mean that we're ignoring men. Men are awesome,
Yeah.
like, totally awesome.
No, but our experience is just different.
Yeah, it's just
Um,
different, and we need to create that forum for us that, we really acknowledge all that we carry,
mhm.
in our lives and what we're capable of, and that if we can if we can be a resource for people, if we have, the ability to, like, to share have shared experiences and offer people, like, hey, mentorship from some of our guests, mentorship resources, here's what I did, and, like, share it across a community where when we all like, I just think that we can solve a lot of things.
I agree.
I
I
hope
totally
I
agree.
hope people learn from stuff I said today, and, like, man, when you hear Brenda Zane, when we interview her, like, I bow to that woman for what she's doing.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like, because of it saved me
right,
from a part of my life that, like, could have overtaken everything else.
right.
But, like, thank God I had that resource, that somebody shared it with me, and that's it. If we can share that and just be honest about what it's like to go through this journey, and then if we can come together, right? We talked about, like, really coming together, like, there's the podcast part of it and the virtual part of it, but then building a community online that at times we actually come together as people.
Absolutely.
Right? And we have, we go for, we go on a hike, or we go for, yoga or meditation, things that I have not gotten into yet, to be honest, everybody. I'm really trying, but I'm like,
Somehow I can't see you
I'm
meditating,
like,
but
I just
okay.
find it very boring. I like rather go on a hike, but we'll have something for everyone.
Yeah,
Like, grab a glass of wine and let's just talk and be around a table and share. And I think that will move everything forward for women in general, and get us out of those little silos of loneliness, right? Because when I was in this silo with my son, it was lonely
yeah.
until I found people who could
I love
relate
that
to.
phrase, silos of
Yeah.
loneliness. I think it's very apt, and I think that women dealing with a lot of different things can relate to that. Um, so I think we're going to end it there.
Yeah,
I think
perfect.
that this is a great, you know, uh, first step in understanding you and why we're putting together Spark Me
Yeah.
podcast. And I am so excited to go on this journey with you.
Oh, me with you too, Liz. I can't wait. This has already been amazing, and I really feel very deeply that this is gonna change the world. I
I,
do. And I know that sounds like way like too that's too much. I don't think so.
even if it doesn't change the world, which by the way, I think it could change the
Yeah.
world, it's going to change us.
It's gonna
And you
change
know
us.
what? That's great too.
It's gonna change the people listening to this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Okay.
thank you all.
Thank you,
All right.
Michelle.
Thank you, Liz.